he's going to clear a lot of those things up. But I'm not going to give it away because I know if I did, Michelle is going to be looking at me all strange and you know. But so I tell you what, I can't start the show without Michelle. How you doing? How you doing, Doctor Cool?
I'm doing good. I'm glad this guest, he's such a cool person, such a just a joy to talk to. I mean, he's doing some great things, and we're excited to have him back on the show, and he's going to tell you all about things he's doing, plus the topic at hand today. He's going to discuss in detail, which I will tell you when you give me the go ahead.
So whichever platform you're watching us on, whether it's E360 Television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, over 55 other live streaming platforms. That, hey, you want to be part of the conversation? All you got to do is just go to the comments on the platform that you're watching us on and ask any questions that we might have. I promise you, I promise you, we'll get you an answer. Michelle, can you please introduce the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely fantastic guest?
Most definitely. So, the title of today's show is Assistive Technology Learning, Working, and Living. And we are welcoming back one of our favorite guests, Jordan Colbert. He is an assistive technology professional at Yale University's Associate Director of the Student Accessibility Services, author and published audiobook producer. He's going to talk about accessibility and assistive technology, basically what they are, and assistive technology and the learning environments, being an employee with assistive technology needs, and life supports through assistive technology. Jordan Colbert, again, he is an assistive technology professional at Yale University, and he hails from outside Atlantic City, New Jersey. He identifies as and is proud to be a biracial first generation and low income graduate. He received his BA in classical studies from the University of Pennsylvania and a master's of marriage and family therapy from the University of Southern California. He started his career in accessibility services at USC in 2015, providing academic accommodations to students with disabilities. Prior to working in the field of accessibility, Jordan served as a psychotherapist with high school students and provided cognitive behavioral therapy to substance abuse populations. He has also produced 3 audiobooks and has contributed to the #1 Amazon bestseller book, A Black Man's Point of View. Please welcome back to the show, Jordan Colbert.
Welcome back,
Hi.
Joe. you know, how you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to be back on the show. It's been a little while, like you said. So I'm happy just to get an opportunity to talk with my good friend JC.
Oh man, it's always a pleasure, having you on, just sitting down chatting with you. I still call you the young professor. You always bringing wisdom, understanding, and focus to everything that you do. So man, I see you changed the look a little bit, man. Last time while you was on, you had dreads. Huh.
Yeah, I had to, it was time to change things up. I needed a little bit of, I like to say it was the end of a era.
you know. So Joe, can you tell our viewers and listeners that might have missed the last time you was on a little bit more about you, where you grew up, um, how you got in a lot of things that you're doing now, Yale, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure thing. So, like Michelle said, I grew up outside of Atlantic City, New Jersey. I have 6 older sisters, and I had a single mother growing up. And so my sisters are about the closest one is 16 years older than me, and they really focused on education as something that was important for me. And as I grew up, I noticed that a lot of my friends, the community, people around me had mental health concerns, and they also had other forms of disabilities. And so as I went to college, I started to just, dabble in ways that I could help people, working, with children at summer camps, doing different activities for, the university with community service. And it really gave me that enriching background to want to go and help people which pushed me to go be a marriage and family therapist. But as I was doing that in the high school setting, I recognized that there was a real need for systemic change, and that the one-on-one therapy is great for helping people, but at the same time I wanted to create a different method to do these things. And that's what took me along the lines of being in colleges and universities, because helping students who have made it to college at that point, or have made it to the upper echelons of, like, elite universities like at Yale, you're really changing the leaders. You're creating representation. And when you help somebody, like, in those circumstances, they turn around and give back to the people that they really identify with. And that's where you make that big change, that systemic change. So that's a thing.
You know what, Jordan, growing up in New Jersey, a lot of things happening around you, but you were one of the kids that paid attention in the classroom. And you end up going to one of the most prestigious college in the United States. It's not the world, Penn. What was your mindset on coming out of high school, identifying where you was going to go and what you was going to do? And you
Yeah.
chose Penn University.
Yeah. Well, I guess, the real thing I would start and say that when I was 15, the presidential election was going on. And that's when I decided, my teacher said, there's never been a president who has not gone to an Ivy League school. And I thought to myself, and I said, you know what? Well, I'm going to go to an Ivy League school and see, where that can take me. And from that point on, I really buckled down. I focused on my academics, just reading. I'm a voracious reader. I love reading. And so I read everything that I could get my hands on. And it really pushed me towards that aspect of going to a higher education setting like Penn. And it was close to home in Philadelphia. So I had to really jump at that opportunity, because it was something that was close to home, I was familiar with, and it gave me an opportunity to be myself, in the sense that I played, I was able to play a form of football there and keep doing what I really loved, while interacting with some of the leaders coming out of high school.
Wow. So yeah, man, I've been knowing you for a long, long time. I have seen all most of the great things that you're doing, but you continue every year to add on and expand your horizon. What would you tell our young folks out there that's probably getting ready to come out of college or coming out of high school? Um, what they might want to focus on in order to make sure that they could potentially be successful?
Ooh, that is a huge thing that I think about all the time. And as the new professionals are coming out of college, or transitioning from high school to college, the idea of really taking advantage of the resources that are around you, whether that be through a network that you've created when you were at college or at your university, or utilizing the resources that are at your high school as you transition to college, and those supports, they can be invaluable. And the one thing I recognize is that nobody gets to become successful by themselves. Whether you say you're self-made, there's always someone that helps along the line. And building out networks and utilizing resources, you might find someone that you've never thought would be able to help you do something, and they can really help you out as you move forward, just give you guidance and mentorship. And then another thing I would say is that drown out the noise. The world is very difficult to stay focused, like, on your own goals and aspirations. And there's a lot of things that develop, on the internet, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, that make you think you might not be doing enough. But just remember, your life is your life. It's your life. Uh, and that's the thing that you have to focus on. The rest of it is just noise.
Man, well put, my friend. Well put. So Jordan, you are at Penn University. You run these programs there, and you also You are an assistance technology professional. What made you choose that career field? And tell me how you doing. Is you loving it? And you bring smiles to other people's face. And I know that's what makes me happy when I bring smiles to others' faces, because I feel like I am contributing to things that they need, but probably didn't know that they need them. And we're just making it easier for everybody to have an opportunity to learn and be successful. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually fell into the world of assistive technology because while I was doing my original graduate position at USC, I was just navigating the system that they had. I knew a bit about technology just in general. I've grown up with Windows 98, Windows ME, when you really had to fix your own problems on the computer. So I was pretty good at adopting technology, and there was an opportunity for an assistive technology specialist there. And I didn't know much about it. I just knew about I knew what assistive technology was as an opportunity to help individuals with disabilities. And after I kind of got my feet wet in one of the systems, I recognized this is a powerful tool, and these type of tools can change the trajectory of somebody's education, somebody's life. And that's the thing that really has kept me in this field, is the way that a person lights up when you give them a tool that not only changes what they're doing and meets the needs that they have of today, but builds their skills throughout life. And that's very powerful to see, even as the person's like, I wish I had known about this sooner. And it's primarily because, there's not enough information out there. Like I said, I didn't know too much about it before I became an assistive technology professional.
Wow. But you hit it on the nose when you're changing people's lives. And once they pick up a different tool or different learning tool, that does change a person focus and their philosophy on how to achieve whatever goals that they're working on. And you know what? It's just so few people, in my opinion, that cares about a lot of things like that. And you and I, we care. We care about everything, everybody. We want to help everybody uh, get ahead and achieve their goals.
Yeah.
And you're doing some wonderful things out there, man. You're doing some wonderful things at Yale.
Yeah.
Yale
Thank you.
University.
That's definitely where I try to change the world. Those are thought leaders there. They're going to be the kids that go out and become presidents or develop the next cure for some significant disease. They're going to change the world in some way. And that gives me a lot of purpose, because you're right. Everybody matters, and there's not enough people who think of it that way.
Everybody matters. Jordan, we're going to take a station break. Whichever platform you're watching this on, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform, ask any questions that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. Remember, it's your life. And we'll see you shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? in everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I got my very, I can keep adding varies on there. Great friend, Jordan Colbert. I call him the young professor, and that's who he is. Out there doing great things and enhancing other lives and educating others on different tools, accessibility at Yale right now. And I told this young man probably about 5, 6 years ago that you're going to turn this world upside down. You are going to set it on fire if you continue to be you. I see.
That's what I do every day.
I see. Not only is he continuing to be him, but he raising the bar. He raising the bar on a lot of things, So, well, before we get started with this, I'd like to, say that this is February. This is Black History Month, and our major theme is the history of great folks, also the arts. So it's starting next week. We're going to really pick it up and start celebrating a lot more Black history. We will have Amistad, the great grandson, on the show. Is he going to come and he's going to talk about his family, the movie, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for you that have not watched Amistad, you might want to go watch it, check it out, and get a little history. And we also got Nelson Mandela, granddaughter. It's going to be on the show real soon in the next couple of weeks as well. We're going to pick it up, and I'm out there. I'm looking for other leaders to potentially come on the show in February. So if you know any, I wouldn't just say experts, but that's going to contribute to Black History Month. We want to close it out. We want to start and close it out with a bang. So we're looking for those folks. And I tell you, if I accept you to be on the show, it's on me. There will be no cost to you. Because it costs money to come on TV. But it would not be any cost to you So if you want to get in touch with me, that's 817-729-6272, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Jordan, I want to pick this back up, man. And because the title of the show is Assistant Living, it's Assistant Technology Learning and Working and Living. Now, first of all, Jordan, can you explain to our viewers what is meant by the term accessibility?
Yeah, it's a very amorphous term, and so accessibility comes the main focus of accessibility is identifying the way that access is created for individuals, primarily individuals with disabilities, but you can also expand that to think about access of different things for people across the board, whether it's somebody who may have a different language barrier or somebody who may have limited time. Accessibility is really looking at the whole way that somebody can access certain materials at ease as everybody across the board universally.
So you mentioned disability, accessibility, person with disabilities. What is considered? Can you explain what is considered a disability?
Yeah, the federal definition says that a disability is any condition or diagnosis that may functionally limit a person's major life areas. So that can include thinking, speaking, communicating, moving, walking, all kinds of things in that way. And so, as long as it's something, and it can be temporary, it can be permanent. So, if you break your leg, you have a disability in that moment because you have a mobility related disability. If you have certain diagnoses, whether it's mental health or cognitive, such as ADHD, creating neurodiversity in that sense, you may run into barriers such as energy level, focus and concentration, and that affects your major life areas such as learning, such as communicating, such as memory, all kinds of things like that. So the definition is wide and encompassing, but it really does hit at the key to what creates functional barriers for you.
Yeah, so we started off talking about assistance technology. Can you give our viewers and our listeners better understanding of what that means, what that entails, and how that could potentially enhance people with disabilities or whatever that might be that they have their lives?
So, assistive technology is any tool that is used to help a person with a disability achieve independence in doing one of their major life activities. And it ranges from a lot of different things. So, you think when you hear technology, you think of things like computers, phones, maybe even AI at this point. But it doesn't have to be so high tech. So the way that it's broken down is really low tech, which are things like pencil grips, or the way that a curb is cut. That's an assistive technology when they're cut that way with the bumps on them, because that helps to navigate independently without needing support. And so those are things that are low tech. Then there's medium tech, which can be things such as a device that is given that may have pictures on it. It can be different you know things that will color code your information when you're looking at like reading, or it'll block it out. And then there's high tech, which can be any device such as a computer, a smartphone, a computer program, that's software, these type of things. And the main goal is really to enhance the independence and create access for people with disabilities.
So we have major problems, K through 12, right?
Mhm.
With getting, first of all, a lot of schools do not have the money to
Yes.
bring in and support uh, that particular K through 12. Depending on which area you live in, You, you either got or you don't. But most of the areas do not have the money to do a lot of these things. How can assistive technology support students in K through 12 with their learning and increase their ability?
So it can help in a myriad of different ways. So the first thing to know is that there are, because of the laws that exist, there have been specific federal guidelines that direct states to provide funding if somebody has identified that they need assistive technology for a specific purpose and that it's been prescribed by a occupational therapist or an assistive technology professional or somebody who has prescription knowledge in that type of need. And so for students in K through 12, if a student is identified to have a disability of some sort, they will get a 504 plan or an IEP, and in some cases, both of them. The IEP stands for an individualized educational program. And so what that does is that allows students to have accommodations that will modify and support the curriculum that they're learning and give them the tools to continue to learn. So in some cases, the technology can be there to help with reading in the sense that it may have your books read to you, it may have information like your tests read to you, those type of things. There's also tools for helping with taking notes, whether it's a tool that uses AI to take notes. It could be an app that records the audio of your lecture or your class and pairs it with some of the notes that you take. But there's also other supports that can exist, such as things like, getting a person who may have significant mobility, related disabilities, a power chair. You may need the power motorized wheelchair to navigate the just moving around the campus of school. There's also ways that you can pair certain technologies to work with your computer. So maybe you can move the mouse with your eyes, or you can navigate it using a button, just one button, to make things work in that way. So there's a lot of different ways that students can be supported through this type of technology just to help with their learning and meet their needs across the board.
Wow. So you mentioned, Jordan, about laws, certain laws. What are some of these laws? So the viewer that sitting back like, okay, there's laws. What are some of these laws that I can refer to go and make sure in my communities, in my area, that the school system, government system, everybody is following those laws and providing much information to the community, the schools, the students as possible?
Yeah, so some of those laws, they date back to 1973. That was the real first law that came out, and that's called the Rehabilitation Act. And that law set up something called Section 504, which means any public facing or private institution or service that receives federal funding must be made accessible to people with disabilities. And so that can actually impact a lot of different areas of the world in terms of, or the country at least, in terms of education. That can impact storefronts, that can impact other areas such as electronic communications. And so there's a whole section also on technology and electronic communications called Section 508. And these refer to just setting up the stage for that. But then some of the other laws that came was the Assistive Technology Act of 1988, which is called the Tech Act. And that's where it really set up the funding guidelines for people to get assistive technology in their school systems. Another one was the Americans with Disabilities Act, or known as the ADA, that was passed in 1990 by the first Bush as president. And so that one really sets the stage also for saying that it's not appropriate to discriminate against somebody who may have a disability, and that will impact the way that they have access if they're discriminated against. So that put a enforcement aspect to these laws. And as time went on, those laws were both amended. So the Assistive Technology Act was amended in 2004 to include assistive technology services. And then the Americans with Disabilities Act was amended in 2008 to increase the amount of people who could receive these services. And so the services apply in many different areas, but it's important to know that it's basically any entity that receives federal funding to run their operations. And that can include jobs, that can include colleges and universities. It can include all kinds of different institutions.
Wow. So Jordan, what would you say that's some of the assistant technology tools that has helped, and I'm talking about some of our students that really, really needed that currently their schools or their district, their city was not doing, but now it's implemented, and there have been a whole lot of positive results that came from these two, based on the acts, based on the legislation that you had just talked about, that's mandated that this is how it got to be.
Yeah, so some of the technology that has been really helpful has helped in the areas of reading and also the areas of communicating, especially in the elementary school world, because those are fundamental skills that people have to develop to help move them along, in society, to help produce effective people in society, because reading is key and communicating is key. So some of those technologies for reading exist in technologies called text to speech, which allows students to have text read out to them. So if you're using, a smartphone these days, you may actually use that type of service just by yourself, by making your computer speak the messages to you, or using your phone speak the messages to you. And that's very similar. But when it's used in a school setting, it usually has an aspect where it will highlight as it reads, and you could change the speed, you can change the voices to have, to match what works for you. And this way you're getting multiple aspects of you're hearing what the sound is. So you're developing your own ability to read. You're trying to read along, and you're also staying engaged because of the flashing aspects of it. So that has been one tool that is incredibly helpful. It's changed the way that people read. Also,
change the way that people read. Hold that thought.
Mhm.
I think we 3 minutes over on a break. We have to get paid. So we're gonna take a station break. We're gonna take a station break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna bring the young professor back, and we're gonna continue to discuss this great topic that I think that's of importance to all of us. So I'll tell you what your platform that you're watching this on. If you want to be part of this conversation, all you do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And my great, very, great friend of mine, Jordan Colbert, the director of several programs at Yale University. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, when you put your focus in on certain things and when it embedded in your heart, embedded in your mind, just like what Jordan mentioned earlier when he was 15 years old and he was watching the presidential election cycle. And he asked his teacher, how can I potentially be one of them? And she said, most of these presidents, most of them, come from Ivy League schools. To be that young and to understand that if I ever have a shot, potentially, even if I thought about it over the next 30, 40 years, I got to go one in my Ivy League school. Not only did he go to the Ivy League school, he did extremely well. Then he left there, went to USC, did extremely well, started major programs at USC. His potential was sought out because very good at what he did. Yale University said, hey, reached out and grabbed him. We want you on our team. My point is this. Wherever he goes, he makes the organization better. Not only that, but the communities are not just Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all that. It's kind of like contagious. He makes everybody better because you come in with these ideals, helping others to achieve and identifying programs and ideals that's going to bring us together, not apart. And also people with disabilities, however you might want to phrase that. He tries with his team to make sure that we can tackle as many of these things as possible. That's why I love this young man. I think he barely 31. He's 31, getting ready to turn 32 or something like that. But he's a young man, and he's doing so many great things. And I could see this young man being president of the United States one day if that's what he wanted to do. Jordan, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I like it. I appreciate it.
I just see that type of potential in you.
You got to start campaigning early, right?
Oh, yeah. It's a joy for the parents and school systems and people that are listening and watching the show today or tomorrow. They can, once this is done, they can see the show anytime they want to. Where can they go to get resources for their children if they are eligible for assistive technology?
So there's a lot of different places they can go. The first place to start is if they're in a public school system. they can ask to have an evaluation occur. And that can really be the first step to identifying whether or not a student needs certain supports, whether they have a disability. And so sometimes it's difficult because the system can be very slow. It can be overtaxed, especially in the public school system. But it is a right of families to be able to do and request this. Every student is required to have access to a free and accessible public education. And so because of that, that's actually the law. It's called, FAP is what people usually call it as. And so that's something to be aware of. And once that assessment is done, they can either go to their doctor who may prescribe certain assistive technologies, whether that may be a prosthesis, depending on the disability. It may be a referral to an occupational therapist who can look at areas for support. It may be a speech and learning pathologist, somebody who has knowledge of these disabilities. And once they have that, they can then use that to go request funding from the states, from different areas, from the Department of Rehabilitation for their state. It can also be identified, there's a lot of centers, there's a lot of resources out there on the internet these days that can help. And usually the best thing is talking with a professional. I know that nowadays it's very easy to get information on TikTok or Instagram, but that information isn't always correct. So it's always good to go directly to a professional. And there are centers such as the Center for Accessible Teaching, and those areas in the world. There's also A-Team Professional Consulting, which I have founded, that provides different ways to have an IEP consultation, to know what might be something that works for you, or what are some services that you're not receiving that you may need.
Jordan, well, you just mentioned the organization. Can you tell our viewers and listeners, what do your organization provide to them and making sure that they get this information, find this information? And is it just in the Philadelphia area, Yale area, or is it worldwide that they can reach out to you and your organization to get the answers to some hard sought out questions that they might have?
Sure. So it's to answer the second one, it's really anywhere in the United States. I do know some international laws, and our team does know international disability laws, but we are a organization that will consult to identify your IEP or your 504 plan. And we will provide guidance in that aspect of the educational consulting. So A-Team stands for Assistive Technology and Educational Access Management. And so we have consultations where we can assess what you're currently receiving, or just your disability documentation that you have, and see where there may be gaps. We can also identify ways that can help support you as you transition from like elementary school over to colleges or universities, or other areas, how to prepare your information and what to look for, what accommodations you might be available to you at that specific institution. And it may be something that you ask to look at across the board. What might be the best school for me to attend based off of this? And there's differences across the states, because states also have their own aspect of supports in there, and they can change different depending on where you are. But our team is all across the country virtually. And so you can schedule an appointment with us just, by going either to our Twitter, and contacting me directly. You can send an email, or you can also check out our website, which is ateamproco.com.
So Jordan, you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned employees, employers, that the employers many times don't want to spend the money. They want to take shortcuts. And then they're getting caught up in violations of not meeting. I know a lot of caught up in violations of not meeting the ADA and all these other standard laws, no rails, bathroom, just that. I mean, all this. And I'm sure that same problem goes in the school systems and all the organizations that cater to people on disabilities, et cetera, regardless of what that might mean. What would you tell potential employers or relate to employees that don't know the rules on what they need to be looking for? And if they need, I call it understanding.
Yes, that's a great way to put it in terms of understanding, because for the most part, it does come down, and I see this mainly in most of the work, is that people don't understand it. Once they understand the need, then they recognize it. But there is this, stigma around people with disabilities where, you may not be able to do the same job as effectively as somebody else. And a person with disabilities, regardless if they have the job, if they go to a school, it's because they're equally qualified with these supports, because that's the important area, is that they're equally qualified. And when you bring in somebody who has a disability into your organization, you do have that obligation to provide academic or, whatever type of accommodations, whether it's employee accommodations, and in the employee world, it's governed not just by Section 504, but by different titles, where employees have to provide these services, regardless of, the cost, unless it does provide a unreasonable burden. So that may be, if it costs more than your organization is worth or is generating, that may be an unreasonable burden. But for the most part, when you bring in somebody who needs an accommodation, who needs assistive technology, they provide a very interesting perspective for your job, for your company, because it's a diverse perspective that others may not think about, others may not run into it. And if you preclude people from their accommodations, then yes, it may make their job a lot harder. They may be less productive because of that. And that's really the discrimination aspect of it. Because if you can do the job at a high level and with the supports, then it's a discrimination to say, we're not going to give you the supports and you're not good enough as a worker.
Hold that thought, because we're going to take it's going to be a quick station break. But when we get back, I want you to tell people how they can reach out to you. You're fully endorsed by me. Because I know who you are, and I know your character, and that's the most important thing is character. Character counts. Character counts. And my friend, I tell you, you're absolutely wonderful. We're gonna take a station break. We're gonna come back. Probably only have about 5-6 minutes left in the show, but we're gonna squeeze every ounce of this knowledge, intelligence, and everything that we need to do, this thing called understanding, or trying to get you to understand from this great guest. So I tell you what, it's your life. And we'll be back shortly after the break.
I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are, and one that keeps us close when we're apart. Talking from the darkness of all that we've been through, it seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of need.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And, it's never enough time when you have a guest like this on that always bring it. Well, I mean, bring it. Education, vision, understanding, focus, knowledge, understanding provides you a key to life. And life is what we live all of our life, whether we 20, 30, 40. Knowledge comes from what we know and we're able to learn. Understanding is when it clicks in up here and we can digest that. So knowledge, understanding provides a key. And the key that I always talk about is that key is your key to this thing called wisdom. Wisdom. We all in search for wisdom. Sometimes it takes us a long time to get there. This young man right here, I'm not saying give him the keys and the gates, but he is approaching wisdom, knowledge, elders. He only 30-something. But that's why I love having him on the show. And Jordan, I know we only got like 4 minutes left in the show. But man, you have a standard invitation. Come on anytime you want to. Dr. Mantel came out of Penn, Dr. Shapiro, all these guys came out of Penn just like you, right? Dr. Mantel has a weekly show with me called 306 Degrees of Health. That's just turning the world on fire. If your schedule allow you to do that, I would love to have at least a monthly or a bi-monthly show with you. We come up with it. My charge, not yours. Think about it. But anyway, I got one question. This is probably gonna be the last question today. Is mental health is a major problem in the United States, not just that, but around the world. And a lot of people understand mental health when people that really don't care, like, that person crazy. It ain't like that. I know I have mental issues sometimes. I'm sure you do as well. We all do. What would you tell our viewers and listeners about some of the tools that could assist with people that might be going through some mental health delusions or mental health problems? We got 2 minutes. How would you address?
Yeah, really packing a punch into 2 minutes on a question, right? But I would say there are some tools, and they're very simple to use directly from your phone. Whether you have an Android, an iPhone, generally just needs a smartphone that can support with apps. And so there are some apps that are really helpful. The Calm app, that's an app that really can help keep you meditated and grounded, because a big aspect of mental health is having a lot of noise go on inside yourself, whether that may be noise giving you negative feedback about yourself and your emotions. It could be noise, like you said, in delusions or hallucinations. It can be noise just in intrusive thoughts that you just can't get out of your head, that kind of, spiral you and make you anxious. And so being able to meditate, being able to have specific mantras that you get every single day, that those little things can be very effective. Very effective. There's other apps called Headspace, which does a similar thing, but one that is really helpful for keeping you on track and routine and things like that is called a Finch. And Finch it allows you to kind of, very similar to like Tamagotchis from back in the day. It allows you to have a virtual kind of like pet that reminds you, hey, drink water today. I just drank a couple of gallons of water. Here's water for you. There's another one that may be something that it'll also remind you, hey, take a couple of seconds to breathe. And so it's a very interesting app, and it's interactive, and it just kind of serves as like a reminder in your pocket to take care.
Wow. Wow. You know what? I tell you, I would love to follow up with you in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, whenever your schedule permits, so we can continue to talk about this. But
Oh, yeah.
Jordan, always my friend, love having you on the show. You done helped produce 2 of my best-selling books. Yes, you the orchestra behind those 2. I just want to thank all that you're doing. Anybody that's looking for someone to uh, help them produce an audiobook, this is the guy. He's the best in the business. So, Jordan, I want to thank you for
Thank you.
taking the time to come on the show. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. Most importantly, I want to thank our viewers, our listeners, for tuning into the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Remember this: always, always, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Is your life.